Well, well. This is a fun one. So I ran my first double marathon weekend this past weekend. I went to Myrtle Beach in South Carolina and ran a 3:42 marathon. And then I went to Little Rock in Arkansas. And you'd be surprised because it's not what you would have expected. So, and I'm not going to tell you until the end of this video. So my personal record is 3 hours and 24 minutes, right? I show up to Myrtle Beach and having already raced a marathon every single weekend for the past 6 weeks. So this is my 7th marathon of the year for the 50 States Marathon Challenge, the 7th state. We were going into it with a good, positive attitude because it was the first double weekend, right? I get there and it's honestly kind of a jumble. So much has happened in the past 48 hours that I don't even know all the details. But I show up to this, per usual, I fly in, I don't have a place to stay, so I book a hotel as soon as I land in the airport. And so I'm walking from the airport, I walk like 3 or 4 miles. I think I took an Uber over to pick up my race bib, but then from there I was walking all around the city. And I was hungry, and even though that morning I literally had so much food, if you want to watch the TikTok, it'll be on, Moss Wyatt on TikTok, but you can see like I have a full plate of rice and beef, and that was my breakfast. Anyways, I was still starving per usual because with all these races, I'm just constantly hungry. There's just no end to it. And so I'm walking around the city, starts to rain. I go into Olive Garden, which is a bad idea. I should not have eaten Olive Garden. I thought it was going to be the play because I was like, oh, I can eat some pasta, but it was $24 for like the smallest plate of pasta you've ever seen. Stupid. And the chicken was like undercooked. I could have gotten 2 Chipotle burritos for that, and I much would have preferred that. So next time, I'm going to do that. Anyways, I could walk you through all the details. I'll do that in the story that's on TikTok. But the main takeaway was this. You need to have people in whatever pursuit that you do. That's the only way to make all of this happen. It's for the people that are around you, right? That's it. It's connection changes everything. Is one of the phrases that I developed for Whisper. Whisper is the nonprofit I work with. We do connection. That's our main thing, right? The science of connection. How to make it more prevalent in society. Easier to access, whatever that looks like. I felt that during the marathons because every person that I talked with, even if it was only for 30 seconds, it was like, wow, this is genuine. We're in the moment. It's like, hey man, how you doing? The other person's like, great. This is awesome. It's like, yeah, you're right. I don't know. And I was talking with half marathoners, full people who are going on their 10th marathon, the ones who were trying it for the first time. I was talking with this girl, and there's a lot of fun, right? Anyways, that is what got me through the race because it was a very humid day, and I was running a little bit slower up front because I knew that I was going to be racing the following day, and I didn't want to, push myself too hard. That way I could show up for the next day. And there's a lot of details, that I guess I need to more fully understand this experience in order to delve into them. But yeah, we'll just leave it there that the people that you surround yourself with are everything, right? And the marathon is honestly not as interesting as the people that you'll meet. Life is not as, my life experiences will never be as interesting as all of the people that I'll meet because I get a slice of their life, probably the best slice of their life in the time that I'm with them. And so then I get to taste test a charcuterie board of the best of all the people that I interact with. And it's great. Or the worst, most people won't share the details that are in the middle. They share what's heavy on their heart or the great things that are going on in their life. And it's cool. So yeah, that was interesting. And then I am exhausted. I go back to the hotel and shower off, and then I go to the airport, and my flight got canceled and moved to the following morning, so I had to cancel my reservation, get refunded, and then book with a separate airline. That way I can make it on time to Little Rock. But I was able to finally get on a flight, and I was exhausted. And it was like 10:30 when I landed and got out of the airport, took an Uber to my hostel when I got to Little Rock. and I was really pushing myself, right? Because usually what would happen is that I was home and then I would just fall asleep and be knocked out for, 12 hours. But with this situation, it was like 11 o'clock by the time I got to the hostel and got signed in and everything. And I had to wake up at 4 a.m. So, by the time I settle in and go to bed, it's like around 11:45. So I'm only going to get like 4 hours of sleep, right? So I'm locked in. I'm like, it is what it is. Like, we've done this before on 4 hours of sleep. I don't think there's any reason why I can't do it again. And I wake up the following morning, get a good shower, and I'm walking over, to the race venue. Now, because I was in Myrtle Beach the day before, I wasn't able to pick up my race bib, the number that you wear on your shorts. But you need that to be able to race, and you can't pick it up the day of. My stepdad has a friend who's a mentor to this girl who's around my age, and she picked up my race bib for me, which was awesome. So I meet her the day of, and yesterday morning, which is wild that it was yesterday morning because it feels like an eternity has passed since then. Regardless, I thanked her so much. I was like, hey, thank you for picking this up. Like, I'll see you after the race, and I'll come back to that in a second because it was very interesting, right? Anyways, I go on the race, get started, and my stomach was not feeling good. So in the first 5 miles, ran straight to the porta potty, first one I could see. So that put me behind for about 3 minutes, right? Now I was pacing with the 350 runners, 355. I was like, I just want to go sub 4 for this double marathon weekend. If I can do that, it'll be a great day. The conditions, it was really humid. It was an early start because of the heat in Arkansas. So, it's like 6:30 in the morning, just empty my stomach contents, and I'm, hopping back in line, and I'm behind pace. When I was on pace with the 350, they were running the 350 pace. Right now, after the time had passed, as soon as I got out of the porta potty, I was like 3 or 4 minutes behind. So in order to catch up over, consistent mileage, I would have to drop 30 seconds every single time to get back in line with the 350 pacers. So I had a battle. I was ready to fight, and this was a good situation to be in. You don't want to be in a place where you're just holding, where you're comfortable, right? Because then you get to the end of the race, and then there's no passion, there's no momentum buildup. You want it to look kind of like this, right? The effort level. So you're holding it for a little bit, it's getting more and more difficult, and then you really push at the end, and then you're done. So you kind of, instead of keeping it like linear, you want to focus most of your effort towards the end, that final sprint for marathons. At least that's what I found works for me. But I feel like I saw this video, the mile world record holder, he negative splits for his second half of his, mile. So if he's doing it while running, then maybe there's something here, right? And I think Eliud Kipchoge does that as well in his marathons. And it makes sense why you would do this, because you can basically live up to where you're supposed to be, like 98%, 95%. But then over time, as you get to the end, you can put that sprint on, so you don't have to have the pain the entire way just for that last portion. It's going to be painful either way, so you might as well sprint at that last portion knowing that you kept a little bit of energy from that first half. You got more in you to finish out the race. But anyways, I'm mile 5, I'm behind, so I'm sprinting to catch up with the 350 pacers, right? Now, I see like the 420 pacers, 410, 4 hour, 355, so I'm sprinting, just passing people. I think at that point I was at like place 285 when I crossed the start line, but then after that, I don't know, I was probably like in 400th, whatever it was. I started running and passed around 100 and 200 people, right, to get back in line and finally catch up with the 355 pacers. Now, one of the guys that I saw before the race, he was racing with his mom. They were trying to get qualified for Boston, which was a lot of fun. And for her to get qualified for Boston, she'd have to run a 350. And I saw him off in the distance. I was like, all right, like I'm at the 355 pacers, but I want to get back up with him because it was fun speaking with him, right? And once again, you want to have people that you can speak with during the race because it's not something that you're supposed to do alone. It's a lot better to do with people. Even if it's only for 10 minutes that you're with this person, it's just, that is everything. So I'm pushing myself, and I'm not even looking at the miles, right? A lot of people will look every single mile. How am I doing? How am I doing? What time am I running? Well, it's just a terrible way to do it because you're running on a different course with different race conditions. You don't know how this stacks up. You can't predict everything. Like there's so many variables that go into each race that it would be stupid for you to compare this to previous race days, previous conditions. It's more important that you feel how you're feeling intuitively. That's the most important part. Instead of making judgments on a number on a screen, how am I feeling? I'm feeling good today, right? It's all about the mind. So anyways, I'm pushing myself to catch up with them, and finally I make it, right? Mile 10 or so. I catch up with them, and I had a passion at this point. I was like, all right, I'm on with the 350 Pacers, and I'm holding it with them for about 3 or 4 miles. So then we split off at the half marathon point from the half marathoners, and there's a lot less people on the road, and they're starting to slow down a little bit. So I'm like, okay, this is the part where I'm feeling good. I've been sprinting to catch up. I know that I got that in me. Intuitively, I can feel it, right? I'm like, I got this. I'm that guy, right? I'm running the double marathon, and I ran a 3:42 yesterday. If I push myself, drop, whatever it is, I might be able to run a similar pace today. At that point, let's see here. If I was running a 350, that'd be a 155 half marathon time. But then to run a 340 would be what would that be? Why am I, hour 20? No. 155. Hour 50. Sorry, my brain fog is still, here. Anyways, I would have to drop 5 minutes from the first half plus hold that pace for the second half. So basically I would have to run 5 minutes faster than the 340 pace to be able to pull this off, right? So I had a battle in front of me. Now this is the fun part, because when you get past that 13-mile mark and you just have a half marathon left, a half marathon is easy, right? That's a training run for me. A 26 is a training run. But regardless, I think to myself, I've done this before. I sprint. This is what I do. This is who I am. I've got that mountain of confidence behind me of the 6 races that I've done so far this year. The fact that I've sprinted in all conditions, very hilly, cold, humid, all the different situations, downhill, uphill, and that every single time I come out unscathed. I'm able to put myself in the fire and walk out hardened, walk out stronger, right? So anyways, I got this battle before me and I'm ready to go. So I start counting down the people, right? There's a big hill for 2 or 3 miles that we went up. It was just nonstop, right? And I knew that at this part of the race, people would start to slow down, right? You're at the halfway point. That's when they realize that they're not that guy, but I am. And I start to pass them. So we're going up this hill and I'm starting to count souls, right? I get up to 7, 8, and I'm like, 9 and 10, I'm coming for you. 9 and 10, 12 and 13, coming for you. And slowly I'm racking up numbers, right? And it's awesome. It's a lovely feeling to be sprinting, especially when there's a good, 30 seconds in between people. And I'm not talking running for 30 seconds. I'm talking the pace is, or the total marathon time is 30 seconds. Basically what that means is I would have to run a 7-minute mile to catch up with someone who's averaging an 8:30 pace. You see what I mean? Because they're running fast, but I'd have to run faster than them to make up for that gap, plus to pass them. So I'm sprinting. I don't even know what my times were. If you want to see it, it'll be in the TikTok. But basically, this is one of the best runs I've had so far, because the conditions from the day before, everything that happened for the first half of the race, as well, my just how I'm feeling in the moment. I'm like, this is one of the best runs I've had. So I'm pushing myself. I'm like, all right, I have to go through, sub 345. That's the goal now. And I'm passing people nonstop, counting up the numbers. And I think by the end of it, I got to 87. I think that was the number, right? So I passed 87 people. And it was wild because, at first I was like, I just want to pass 25 people. And I got to 25. I'm like, okay, well, let me see if I can get to 50, right? And, in between I was 35, 45. But I got to 50 and I'm like, okay, 55. Then I'm like, you know what? Let me go to 75. Let me see if I can get to 75 people. And I got it. And then I'm like, okay, let me get to 100. And even though I didn't get 100, I passed 87 people for the second half of the marathon. That's not even for the full race, right? After being behind and passing 200 people, I then passed 87 more that were running faster than me. And it It was awesome. So it's fun when you set that challenge up for yourself. A great life hack for you for when you run your marathon. But on top of that, it's just a good thing where I'm not comparing myself to their speed, but their speed is a mile marker for me to pass. You see what I mean? It's like they're running their own race, but I'm running mine. I'm running faster than that pace. So when I pass them, I know that that's me successfully running my race. It doesn't matter that I'm passing them particularly. They're just running an 8:37, and I know I need to run an 8:30. So if I run past them, okay, slowly I'm getting closer to running an 8:30 average pace, right? And so everyone has their goal. Everyone has their capabilities that they are up here that they think they're capable of. And most of the time it's a lot lower than what they're actually capable of because the brain puts a limit on these things by default. So you don't want to live in the defaulted position because then you are limiting what your potential heights could be in this life, right? But regardless, I'm passing these people and push them up the hill constantly. When you get to the hill, lean in because that's where people start to slow down, right? So when the difficult parts pop up in your life, figure out how to push through because most people will stop or they'll walk up the hill. And then that's the opportunity for you to stay on your race and prove it to yourself who you actually are, right? So I'm getting towards the end of the race and there's like 3 miles left and I'm like, we're locked in. Like I'm running my own race now. I won't be able to pass any more people because there's such a vast distance between us and I'd have to be sprinting and I've put down a great race so far. So like, it's not like I can go much faster, but I'm getting close to the end of the race and it dawns on me. I'm like, wow, if I actually finish at this pace, I will have run a back-to-back marathon at a 3:42. And that was my 3:42 average for both of them. And that was my personal record at the Houston Marathon 8 weeks ago, right? Let's see here. 6 weeks ago. Oh, mom's calling. Anyways, it was wild. Such a wild feeling that 8 weeks ago, this was my all-out pace, and now I'm running it for a back-to-back marathon. I finished the race at a 3:43. My average pace was I think it was 3:42.5 or whatever it was. 3 minutes off my personal record. And I don't know, it was an absolutely amazing day, right? So that was incredible. But that wasn't the highlight of my weekend. The girl that I met up with. For the sake of privacy, I won't say her name, but I had the most wonderful time with her after the race. It was just incredible. So I already told you the story about how I was a friend of my stepdad, her friend, and then she was a mentor to this girl. So it was a weird connection how it all worked out. But basically, after the race was over, I texted her like, hey, I'm gonna go grab lunch. Thank you so much. I want to buy a lunch for you because of the race bib, that whole thing. She was up for it. We went to Chipotle and we were there for like an hour, right? So that was awesome. Got to know each other a little bit. And because I wanted to thank her for getting the race bib. That was it. There was no, reason to spend a ton of time talking, but we just kept talking. And so then I had a flight at 5:30 and she was like, hey, let me just drive you to your hostel. Cause I stayed at a hostel. It's like $30 or 50. Let me just drive you to your hostel. You can pack up your stuff. I'll read a book and then we can go to this art museum that's right next to the hostel. I was like, I'm up for that 100%. So I go shower, pack up my stuff, walk outside. We go to the art museum. We're walking around for an hour at the art museum. And so that was really cool because just spending time, going on kind of like a date, but just spending time together with someone who had similar interests and that was a female. It's a different feeling than doing the same things with a man, So it's nice to have a female friend, right? But it was more than that. We sit down at the coffee shop on top of the art museum, and it was incredible. Just beautiful building in Arkansas. If you want to look it up, just look up Arkansas, Little Rock Art Museum, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And we're there for 4 hours talking about just the most random topics, but things that are related to things that she's working on, that I'm working on, that we both find interesting, developing ideas and whatever it was. there's a phrase, like, the best things aren't remembered what people say, but how they felt. So I don't remember what exactly I said or what she said, maybe some of the topics that we talked about, but I just remember the feeling, you know? It's just like this, that's like deep connection. That was the feeling that I felt of like, man, like this is what it feels like to really get to know a human being. It was awesome. And so now, regardless of what happens, I walk away from that conversation knowing what it feels like to have a deep conversation with a woman with similar interests. And that's a quality that I will look for in a wife one day. So who knows if it's this girl or not? I don't know. But what I do know is that she has taught me what to look for. And I told her that. I texted her today. Told her that I was so grateful that we had met and that she is exactly, like she has the qualities that I look for in a friend. And that she set the bar higher. That, you know, I will start looking for the qualities that she possesses or whatever in the friends that I meet in the future. I don't know. Basically, my point is this. You want to start meeting as many people as you possibly can because it doesn't matter who they are, you get better at conversation. You get more confident. You get to learn other people's story. Eventually, it'll turn into incredible things. You know, at the start of the marathon, I usually try to find someone that I can pace with. I never know what it's going to turn into. But by the end of it, we're great buddies or really good friends. I've met some great guys that are now friends of mine in the past couple of weeks. I would consider them friends, even though I literally just met them through that conversation over the course of the event. I think the reason why you can build that friendship really fast during the marathon is that you're suffering together, right? And at the end of the day, like that's what the definition of compassion is, to suffer with, to feel what someone else is feeling. We're going through the same thing. We're both on mile 20 of this marathon, you know, running the same pace, talking with each other. We're feeling it and we're going through it together. And the ultimate form of this is finding someone that you'll suffer with for the rest of your life, spend the rest of your life with, you know? And so then this weekend was incredible because I got to meet some more friends. So from that perspective, I will walk away knowing some great people that I haven't even talked about on here because there were just so many people that I talked with that I will carry with me as friends for the rest of my life. And then on top of that, I will walk away with the knowledge or like the feeling of what it feels like to experience a genuine conversation with a female that I'm interested in, right? I hope she's not watching this video, but if she is, now she knows. My cards are on the table. But that's one of the greatest gifts you can get is to experience that, especially this early in life, because now I know what to look for. And honestly, when you know what to look for, it makes the whole process so much easier because you can move in the right direction. I know maybe I should start going to art museums more often and find the girl in the coffee shop that's sitting there reading her book, because eventually I'm going to find one of them that's just the one, has every quality that I'm looking for. But those are great places to start looking, you know. But more than that, I have that feeling. So it doesn't matter where I am. I know that intuitive feeling. I can recognize it now. So when I have a conversation with someone and I feel that again, it's like this. It's like you're looking in their eyes and it's just like, wow. I don't know what to say. Like this is it, you know? This is incredible. That's the feeling that you look for. That's the intuitive feeling that I've just experienced. So this weekend has taught me a lot, and I can't even begin to process all of it because there's so many details. The people that I talk with on the plane, the conversations that I overheard while traveling, the lady who opened registration up last week when there was someone who canceled, their ticket and then said that I can join in, right? Because I wasn't supposed to race Little Rock. That's the crazy part about all this, is that I never would have met this girl if there wasn't a whole chain of events that led up to this. Let me delve into that real quick, actually. This is actually quite crazy. So 4 weeks ago, I emailed the race director. Hey, I see that Little Rock is sold out. I really want to race. I'm doing all 50 states. Is there any way that you could open up one extra ticket so I could race Little Rock? Because I want to race with y'all. I want to make a video about it because it's one of the biggest races in Arkansas, or the biggest, right? Why we can't do that? The race is sold out. I'm sorry. Hey, is there anything you can do? No, why? Like I told you, there's nothing we can do. I'm sorry. What if I showed up on race day? Could I have XYZ? I'm sorry. There's no way to know if someone will cancel on race day, so I don't know what to tell you. So I didn't plan on going to Little Rock. And then out of nowhere, like 4 or 5 days before the event, literally like last Wednesday or whenever it was, the race director reaches out. She's like, hey, have you canceled your ticket yet? And I said, no, I haven't canceled it yet. I had never booked the ticket in the first place, which means I haven't canceled it yet. And so I was like, I haven't canceled. What's up? We got a race ticket. If you want to join in for the Little Rock Marathon 2024, you're welcome to it. Heck yeah. So she opened up the registration, and then I had already been racing Myrtle Beach. But before this, this is a crazy detail. I had an opportunity to race for free at the Napa Valley Marathon that was supposed to be on Sunday, right? So then I was still going to do a double marathon weekend, but I didn't decide to go through with it because the flight was too expensive. It was like $800 to get over there. It was not worth it whatsoever, even though it would have been a great opportunity. And next year I'll definitely do it. Regardless, how this all fits into play, how these details fit together, is that I found out it was canceled and that there was no way I could get in. Then this opportunity to go to Napa Valley came up. So I didn't book my return flight from the Myrtle Beach Marathon yet because I thought that I might be able to go race Napa Valley. That fell through, and then a couple days later, she responds and says, we have a race ticket. And so then now I'm like a few days out from racing Myrtle Beach. I don't have a flight yet, so I say yes. And then on top of that, because I was racing Myrtle Beach, I had to ask my parents to see, especially my stepdad, to see if he knew anyone. He knew someone that knew someone in Arkansas that had a friend, and it's just a wild connection to put me on the path and have this conversation. So I have no idea what the future holds and what it looks like, but what I do know is a lot has happened to get me to this spot. And like I was saying in the video 2 days ago, is that it has taken everything to get me to where I am today, or else I wouldn't be here, like it's so stupid to say it like that, or not stupid, but whatever the word is, so cheesy, but it's taken my whole life to get to where I am today. Maybe it hasn't taken that, but my whole life has happened and now I am here. And so what has happened, I have to make the most out of. But then on top of that, like I can reframe that and say like every experience has taught me something to put me in the position to be able to understand that this is the path I should take, or these are the things I should be thinking about, or this is the level of maturity that I now have because of the circumstances that I've been through that allow me to think this way in the first place. Like, life is not that simple. There are a million details that are super complex that have made you who you are today. But altogether, I don't know. You'll never begin to process all of it, but you can do a little bit. You can process as much as you can handle and enjoy the moment while you're in it. Because maybe that's the ultimate processing, is being present while you're there. And so it doesn't matter if I come back to this moment. I'm here now, and I will live in it, live through it, and enjoy it while it lasts. So that's the motto for the marathons. Doesn't matter how long this lasts. I'm here, I'm in it, and I'll enjoy it while it lasts. That's it. Incredible weekend. Something I will never forget, and I'm probably gonna have to make another one of these videos to process it. That's how much happened. You don't know how good life could get. So just keep going. And slowly you'll start to realize that this life is so much greater than you could ever imagine. One of us.